Hey, my name is Rob Thorne. I play in the band Sacred Oath. I'm the lead singer, guitar player, and have been the primary songwriter since 1985. I began as a high school sophomore. We signed our first record deal while we were still in high school, and I was able to fortunately graduate early and start in a whole little music career as a teenager. And here I am, 55 years old, still going. Uh, I've had to diversify to live the kind of lifestyle that I want to live, but it's been great for me, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yes, it is fine. Let me get a.
Is this a video thing or just audio?
So I'm going to tell you what. Originally, it started out as a sort of film project because I've done some documentaries in the past. But I'm part of this podcast network, and when they caught wind of what I was doing, they decided that it might be better to release like weekly series because I've got some really good ones. So I don't know where it's going yet. We're gonna find out.
Like you had Doug Pinnick.
Yeah, I just spoke with Doug not too long ago.
Love Doug Pinnick, so awesome.
Unbelievable, and it's still, we talked about it then, and I still thinking now, what an underrated
Recording
band.
in progress.
Say that again?
Sorry, what an underrated band. They should have been so much bigger.
Yeah, well, the word underrated is so funny because anybody who knows King's X knows that they're total gods. You mean commercially underappreciated?
Yeah, that's a fine. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I mean they should have done way better than they ended up doing.
Yeah, well, that's the great mystery of the music business, right?
Yeah. But anyway, yes, Doug is a great guy and probably one of the nicest guy I know in the business. So, and a longtime fan.
Yeah, I got into them when Gretchen came out.
Okay, I was on board like Out of a Silent Planet, but Gretchen is by far my favorite record from them. Love that record.
Yeah, me too. And for me, it's one of my Desert Island records.
Yes.
After I listened to that record about 300 times, I was like, this is an all-time classic.
Yes.
This goes on my Desert Island list.
I 100% agree with you, man. In fact, Doug and I talked about that for a little bit. Yeah, that's such a great, great, great record. Top to bottom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Flawless.
Yep. Anyway, sorry. I can get talking about music forever, but I'll give... So, you're pretty much aware of what this is going to be. It's just going to be a little segment on aging. It may end up being both because I'm filming it. I'm recording the filming as well. I don't know where it's going to go, but definitely going to be a podcast sort of thing, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Do you think it's going to go longer than an hour?
No, I don't think it's going to go longer than half an hour. I think you're...
Oh, good.
I've got like 5. I've got 100 questions, but I've got like 5 that I'm going to ask, and, we can go from there however... wherever they go. Don't feel obligated. If they're uncomfortable, move on, but there's no tricks, no anything. It's just, and I will be silent while you're talking so we get good audio. So don't think I'm
You got good
you.
audio on me?
I got great audio everywhere, so.
Would it be better if I shut this? There's a soundproof door. Is that better?
Oh yeah, actually it is. Now it's dead.
Probably even better.
So so
it's a live room.
I'm not ignoring you if I don't respond while you're talking. Just I want good audio.
All right.
Cool?
You need me to be higher up?
Nope, you are perfect.
Okay.
Everything is great, so we can just jump in if you want.
Yeah, I'm cool.
All right, so let's start right here. As you reflect on your journey as a metal musician, what do you think the impact your music has had on when you think about the impact, let's start this again. As you reflect on your journey as a heavy metal musician, what do you think the impact your music has had on fans over the years?
The impact that my music, Sacred Oath music, has had? Well, I think that the impact of Sacred Oath has probably been smaller than most of the other people you're talking to. But I think that the people who know Sacred Oath the best are the ones that were really listening to and following Sacred Oath back in the 80s. And at that time, I think we were doing things that were sort of on the edge of all the excitement at that time in 86, 87, 88, even 85. And I think that, you know, we had more impact then in a creative sense, sort of combining power and thrash. That was really sort of something that we were on the edge of, I thought.
Right.
You know, one of the cool things that we like to bring up every once in a while is that we got a fan letter from Chuck Schuldiner back in the day,
Wow.
who before death, you know, put out their first record, and he was actually a big Sacred Oath fan. So there's a little impact on a legendary band.
Fair enough. That's great, actually. So let's see. Looking back on your career, are there any moments or achievements that you hold particularly close to your heart? And if so, why?
Well, you know, it was exciting time for us around 2009 when we filmed the Counting Zeros video and got invited to do an interview for MTV2 Headbangers Ball. That was very cool. That was sort of like, it felt like at the time we had come back after a long hiatus, and um, you know, we really believed in what we were doing. We were hanging on to the elements of how we started out: power, thrash, melodic metal, and it was cool. It felt very validated to have that, you know, recognized by such a big platform. That was good for us. So I'm proud of that. I look fondly back on that. You know, for me, it's always been about every record that we make, really. Um, Everyone, you know, I'm so involved in the production of each album that we've made, not just creatively, but especially creatively, but also in the studio. And so each album to me is like a little child that I think fondly back on each record and the time that it represents in my life. So each record, I would say.
Okay. So are we good with these, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, I would also say probably if I look back on any record in particular as being the one that's really the apple of my eye, it would really be Darkness Visible, because that was really the comeback record for us. And it gave me a chance to finally realize that creative vision that had kind of been cut off prematurely. And I listen to that record, and I'm always really, I'm so pleased and just filled with good feelings about, wow, that it all came out the way I wanted it to. And if that record hadn't happened, Sacred Oath may have never gone on for another 15 years.
Okay, fair enough. These okay questions?
Yeah, sure.
So as you continue to age, which we're all doing, what legacy do you hope to leave behind as a musician, and how do you want to be remembered by future generations of musicians?
That's a big question, because you know, I do a lot of things, Bruce. You know, I play in Sacred Oath, but I also have so many other things I'm involved in. Like I have a whole music school that I teach privately in, and that's a big part of my legacy in the community that I live in, which is a big part of my life. You know, over the course of my career, and in anybody's career, they're constantly, you know, given opportunities and they have to make choices. And in my life, I've really made my family a priority in my life. And especially the older I get, the more my family becomes a priority, because as my kids get older, they've got dreams and I want to support their dreams. I don't stop going for my dreams, but I support theirs as well. So I make choices like starting the music school and really putting my roots down in a small community where I could work one-on-one with people and feel like I was passing on my love for music and also the skills in many instruments, guitar, singing, drums, bass, songwriting, teaching kids how to produce. That's a big part of what I'm doing and what I really feel that I have a strong, record there going forward, that'll really have a lasting impact. And there's also, with the band, our diehard fans know that we've always stayed true to our creative vision. And that's because we've always done it purely for the love of it. Sacred Oath never had any kind of major commercial success. So the only reason we do what we do is purely for the love of it, the joy of it, and that we've got something to say. And thankfully, we get the opportunity to say it. And so I hope that, when all's said and done, that'll be the legacy that we've left behind.
Okay. Looking back on your career, is there anything you wish you'd done differently or any regrets you have as far as the musician side of things goes?
That's a heavy one. When I was younger, I would get asked that question, and I would always say that I had absolutely no regrets. And I think a lot of people will agree that as you get older, which is kind of what this interview is about, you start to look back and start to realize, wow, to say you've absolutely had no regrets just shows that how much your ego has been a part of things. But as you get older and wiser, you can look back and say that you've had some regrets. And I have regrets about the way that Sacred Oath kind of busted apart in late 1988, early 89. I mean, not that there was any other way to go about it. We were young. My God, I was 18 years old, and we were all struggling with the realities of the music business. And when you're 18, the easiest way to get away from that is just say, I'm done with this. Obviously I took a little hiatus. I came back a few years later, but I wonder sometimes what would have happened if we had hung in there at that time. And I guess that's a regret. That's pretty much the only one.
Oh, that's great.
That I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay. What role I can't speak today. What role does nostalgia play in the continued popularity of classic heavy metal bands?
100%. Metal bands in our style, it's completely a nostalgia trip. It's not the music of young people. I mean, there are young people that are coming to the shows and that are into it, but let's be honest, it's almost entirely because their parents are into it, their parents play it, their parents really want to introduce them to it and kind of connect with them in that way. So it's completely a nostalgia trip for classic metal. I do a lot of private teaching, and so I'm interacting one-on-one with all these people from all ages, from 10 to 65. And the ones that want to learn classic metal, that are young, their parents are headbangers. The ones that are young that want to come in and they're into heavy music are all into more current metal, which really doesn't have that classic thread even in it. I mean, I'm talking about some of these bands like Periphery, where it's very hard for me to find any connection between that style of metal and classic metal. So I think it's 100% a nostalgia trip.
Okay. What are some?
Sorry to be long-winded.
No, long-winded is good. I can always edit, but I love it. I'm probably gonna leave everything in. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced as an aging musician, and how do you overcome them?
Well, it's funny. Like I had already mentioned, as you get older, you have more responsibilities and an increasing number of things that are very important to you, and you have to make choices. So that's, as you're aging, that's always a challenge. You have an opportunity to go out on a tour, but it's going to be a tremendous look. Touring is always a tremendous sacrifice, no matter what anybody says. I mean, just playing in a band is a tremendous sacrifice, if we're going to be real about this. But, everybody thinks that it's like a big party and we're all getting rich, but it's a day-to-day sacrifice and choice to hang in there. I think at any level. So it's challenging to pass on opportunities and choose things like, wow, my third kid was just born. Think that I should probably be here right now. Not that that's a hard choice to make, but it's hard to let other opportunities go. That's for sure. But now, I'm 55 years old right now, and I can tell you that, and I speak for myself, but I'm probably also speaking for a couple other people in our band, that you start to come face to face with the physical realities of aging. So, especially when you're as busy as we all are, heavy metal, classic metal, all metal, and classic metal, and especially in the power thrash style that we play, it's like a sport. And man, when we start playing shows, it's like I got to really focus and get in shape. It's not easy. I can't just, someone asked me once, yeah, you guys don't have to actually rehearse anymore right before you play. I mean, you've been playing for so long. It's like, oh no, you're kidding me? A few weeks before, we got to stop eating certain things, stop drinking certain things, start hitting the gym, start practicing, just getting your body in shape to be able to get through. This last few years, we've been playing like 2.5-hour shows, and that's hard to do now at the age of 55. It's like, gotta pace myself, keeping my voice in shape to be able to do the tremendous range of what we try to do live, is tricky. So that's probably the greatest challenge in aging, is just keeping your physical your physical shape and your body up to the task.
And you don't recover so quickly after those shows either, right? I know just me doing stuff.
No
I'm
way.
like, I don't play like that, but yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm able to stay. In fact, Kenny and I, as Kenny's our drummer, we talk about this all the time. And we listen to live recordings. I mean, we've actually recorded probably 20 plus, almost like 28 songs on this last tour. And we listen through the tracks because we're mixing them and putting them out as bonus tracks on reissues and stuff. And we sit there and we're like, wow, we're playing about as good or better individually and as a band, but also individually, as good or better than we ever have. But like I just told you, it takes a tremendous amount of effort and discipline to make sure that we're staying healthy enough and practicing enough to be in that kind of shape. Having said that, yeah, the recovery is brutal. Like, people are like, wow, you guys are so great. You got to go out on like a, 6-week tour. And it's like, I'll say flat out to them, well, the only way that would be affordable for a band like Sacred Oath would be to play a minimum of 5 nights a week. And there is no way right now that I could sing Sacred Oath music 5 nights a week for 4 weeks, even for 2 weeks. Just couldn't do it. It's just too extreme. My body doesn't recover fast enough. My voice doesn't, just doesn't recover fast enough to do that. I watch Judas Priest, and I'm looking at Rob Halford, and I'm just like, man. But you're talking about guys that have so much experience, and there's no substitute for that. You got a guy who's been on the road for 50 years. He knows how to recover. He knows how to pace himself. I don't have even a hair's breadth of the experience someone like Rob Halford has, and but it takes me 3-4 days to recover from a show.
He's like a freak of nature, right? Because he's in his mid 70s now or early 70s, and at the top of his
Yeah.
game still. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, but I'm sure that he'll tell you that, you know, he's got to keep himself in shape.
Right.
He's not rolling out of bed and stumbling on stage. I mean, he's probably living the cleanest he ever has in order to pull that off. You know, you just have to.
Right.
You know, and look at, you know, I've had a bunch of students who've been going out and checking out the Rolling Stones. I mean, and coming in the next day blown away by this Rolling Stones tour. And Mick Jagger's like, isn't he like 80?
Yeah, I think he's 80 something. Yeah.
He's 80 something. And they're like telling me, I haven't seen any of it, but they're telling me that the guy is running back and forth and sounds great. And like, you know, I'm sure he's not partying like it's 1971.
Right.
You know?
But still out there doing it. Yeah.
I don't care how clean you're living. To be doing that in your 80s is, I mean, it's almost kind of funny. Like, I remember when Ozzy turned 40, we were like, well, Ozzy's done. Nobody rocks past 40.
Right.
It was like his farewell tour, you know? And here he is. Well, he's not actually still going, but he really was up until a few years ago. I saw the end tour, and he was fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I was there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So is there an end in sight? Is this like something you plan on, or how will you know when it's done, or do you just ride it to your 80s and keep going?
Well, I don't know if I could do Sacred Oath into my 80s. I really don't. I don't know. 80s, God. I'm already, you know, every time we do a record right now, I think to myself, oh, thank God. I'm so happy with how it came out. Maybe we should call it a day. I don't want to go out, Bruce. I really don't want to go out badly.
Right.
I don't want to go out badly. I don't want to put out a bad record. And you know, some people may say that we have, but I know that we haven't. If you look at our whole discography, I'm proud of every record we've done and feel that it's a true Sacred Oath record. And I'm proud of all the shows that we've done. You know, even we just played a couple of weeks ago and it felt, and you know, people were coming up saying it was the best they've ever seen or heard us. And I'm like, great. This is how, as long as we can keep doing that, then I'll just keep going. But I don't really have an end game in sight. But when it gets to the point that we can't do it at this level, well, then I'll stop. It's not like I don't have anything else. I've got so many other, you know, I got a great family life. I've got a thriving studio. You know, got a lot that I get satisfaction from. So it'll be hard, but I'll still be making music.
I think
Plus, there's also Kenny. Kenny's a few years older than me. And let's talk about drummers. You know, I'm bitching and moaning about keeping my voice in shape to do Sacred Oath. I mean, what Kenny's got to do on a nightly basis is like, it really is an Olympic event. And it takes him even longer than me to recover.
Right.
And I do think to myself, there was a period of time that Kenny was injured and we did a tour without him. And I really wasn't happy on that tour. And I realized that if I'm not having fun in Sacred Oath, then it's not worth doing for me because I do it purely for fun and joy. And without Kenny, I found out that it's not fun because we go all the way back to the beginning and there's a real brotherhood and camaraderie. And, you know, the camaraderie is a big part of it. And if he gets to the point where he can't perform, well, that would be another reason that we would be done.
I agree, but I find it interesting what you just said, like when that quality starts to slip, when it's not like 100% Sacred Oath like you've heard in the past. Because we all see examples of that every day. You turn on the news or turn on the TV and look at Blabbermouth. There are people who should have taken your advice and gone out with a legacy that, you know, screams, I was the best at my game, and not, I ran this through the mud so I can just make another check.
Yeah. It's easy to be critical. Um, if someone loves it so much that they don't want to stop, then who am I to tell them they got to stop? If someone has no other look, I understand the sacrifice it takes to hang in for a lifetime in this. And a lot of these guys have made so many sacrifices, and it's all they have. They got nothing else that they can do to make money. Well, then who am I to criticize that? So that's number two. And, you know, it's a tough call. I mean, I feel like I'm getting lost on you were talking. Well, yeah, you're talking about guys who keep doing it when they're way past their prime and they don't sound good anymore. But then again, look at these crowds, Bruce. They're there for the nostalgia. Why do you think these tribute bands are so huge?
That's a good point.
The tribute bands are huge because the fans just want to be in a room with live music, you know, like whatever, whether it's Def Leppard or Iron Maiden or Ozzy Osbourne. They want to hear the songs they love. They want it to be played by a live band. They want to be around people their age who grew up in that time. It's like going to a high school reunion for them.
So it's a massive connection, and that makes sense. You know, I really never thought about it.
Yeah, music, you know, live concerts are about people connecting not just with the band but with each other. And so, you know, like I said, it's easy to be critical about bands going past their prime, but look, if people are buying tickets and they're going, they're obviously filling a need for somebody, whether it's themselves and whoever's in the audience. So you can't criticize that.
All right, fair enough.
I don't know that I could do it, because, you know, as I have but I'll tell you, I got a lot of respect for singers that can get out there and keep going when they're struggling every night, because as a singer, personally, I can tell you that there's no more depressive state to be in as a person than singing and your voice not being where it needs to be. You know, you do a few dates in a row because your voice is tired and you can't hit notes and you're just kind of half-assing your way through a show. Those are some of the most depressed times I've had in my life, you know. And you can't cancel the show because then you'll lose so much money. So you feel terrible because, number one, you're out there playing for people in some country that they've never seen you, and then maybe the only chance they get to see you, and you can't give them the best because you're just incapable of it.
Right.
And the next day you wake up, and I don't know how these guys who don't have their voices anymore can cope with the depression of that. But that's me. It just bothers me, you know.
All right, then. So then the last one I have, what advice would you give to younger musicians? Man, I'm having trouble speaking this morning. Lots of editing.
It's early.
Yes, holy cow. What advice would you give to younger musicians who are just starting their journey in the heavy metal genre?
Well, what do you mean the heavy metal genre? You just mean heavy music?
Yeah, let's go with heavy music. That's fine.
Yeah. Boy, you know, I give a lot of advice to young musicians every day. I teach, as I told you, I teach privately in my studio, and they're not all into heavy music. It's everything. I mean, I even teach classical piano and opera, and because I've been doing this for 40 plus years. So when you've been doing music that long, you have your hands in everything. When it comes to heavy music, oh, you know what? No one's asked me that, and you got me thinking. And so here's my answer, because I recently had a student that I had this issue come up. Now, the kid would come in and he would play for me all that he learned on YouTube that week that I didn't teach him, because that's the world we live in now, right? I have what I'm teaching, which is here's how to actually play the guitar in a in the traditional sense, right? I'm teaching scales and I'm teaching chords and I'm teaching rhythm and I'm teaching how to play a song, and then sometimes I get to the point where I'm teaching how to write a song or understanding the structure of a song. And so I have this kid, and he's really a representative of a whole generation of young musicians now that are listening to this new heavy music. And he starts playing me all the stuff that I'm unwilling to teach him because it's not my thing, and I don't have time to go out and be learning it. And he plays this whole song for me on a 6-string guitar, and it sounds to me like kind of chaos. Like, it really sounds like you fed a bunch of notes into a computer software program and then spun it around like a bingo shuffle and started pulling notes out and sticking them together with glue. Just random, totally random. And I'm listening and I'm like trying to make sense of it, trying to understand, like, wow, this is the new sound of heavy music. Wow, I can see that it's so heavily influenced by the technology, right? It's influenced by computer software and editing. And it's also very influenced by the technologically, controlled world that these kids are growing up in. Everything's on technology. Everything has a computer program or, software program at the center of it. And so this is how they're seeing the world. Everybody's writing music and listening to music that somehow represents their generation at that age, right? Kids probably 14. And then he says, yeah, to me. I said, wow, what is that? Oh, blah, blah, tells me who the band is. And then he says, but it doesn't really sound exactly like that because it's written for 7-string, tuned to a totally different tuning. And I said, wait a minute. All right, you're telling me that you're just playing this for me and you're hitting all these frets in this order that you've memorized, and it doesn't sound anything at all like it's supposed to because you're playing it on the wrong instrument in the wrong tuning. And that doesn't throw you, that doesn't bother you, that doesn't stop you. Oh no. And I said, all right, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if we can go any further together as a pupil and a student. I mean, as a teacher and a pupil, because that doesn't make any sense to me. Music should be an expression of emotion. And to have it not even matter if the instrument's in the right tuning or even on the right amount of strings, to have that make no difference to the performance of it, that's a problem right there. That's a whole disconnect. For me, music has always been about expression of what it means to be human in a world that can be difficult to be human in. So my advice to young people getting into heavy music is to please find a way to connect what you're doing to the experience of being a living, breathing creature and not just a technician that can memorize things and spit them out in a certain order. I mean, because how can that have any lasting value for anyone?
Fair enough. That is all I had. I hope that wasn't too bad.
Oh, that was great. But boy, you really gave me some challenges there, things that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them, as you know, that I put together, but I've kind of been honing in on these because some of them are easier than others, and there are some big ones, but that's kind of what this is. Jesus. That's kind of like what we were talking about anyway, right? You need to connect with people, and you're not going to connect with the soft stuff.
Yeah. Well, What do you mean the soft stuff?
Like the easier questions, right? Some of these deeper questions we're all going through.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I just didn't know what you meant by the soft stuff. Yeah, well, but then again, look, Bruce, like I said earlier, the older I get, the more I throw my hands up, right?
Right. No, I get it.
I get, like, I say to myself, well, look, if that kind of random access memory, that's what I call it, like RAM music, where it's just like, sounds like a computer took the notes and shuffled them up and spit them out in an arpeggiator. If that is helping these young people connect together because it represents to them the world they're living in. Hey, look, young people are growing up in a world right now where they don't even know what truth is, right? Everything has a slant. Everything can be a truth under a certain set of circumstances. This is what they're struggling with. We didn't grow up with that. We grew up with, this is how it is. This is what it is. And you try to create meaning in your life out of those things. These kids are kind of like, whoa, the whole world's been turned upside down for them. If that's how they're going to connect to each other, because that's the world they're living in, more power to them. As a teacher, you know, and as someone who's trying to connect to younger people and give them some advice, it's the antithesis, right? It's the complete opposite of what I've been doing my whole life. So I'm okay to say, hey, I'm not your guy. I can't show you how to create music like that because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your contributions to the metal scene. I've been a fan of you guys from way back, so.
Oh, that's awesome to hear, man.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen you. I was trying to, I've only got like a minute 30 on this Zoom, but I was trying to think back as I was prepping for this. I don't know that I've ever seen you on the road.
Where do you live?
I used to live in Manhattan, or in New York, and work in Manhattan, but now I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, did you ever? Well, so how old are you?
57.
All right. So did you ever go to the streets in New Rochelle?
No, but I grew up going to Lemoore. You remember that place?
Oh, yeah. No, we used to play at streets in New Rochelle all the time, which was a big Westchester metal club. That was our home base.
Did you? Let me ask you a question. This may not be you, and I'm running out of time here, but did you tour with Wasp and Accept?
No.
Okay, it's somebody
Warlock.
else. No, I thought it was somebody else. Anyway.
No, I would have loved to tour with Wasp.
I'm just trying to place if I've seen you through the years, but I don't think I have.
Hey, man, if you text me your address, I'll send you some stuff.
Oh, great. I'd love it. And I appreciate your time, and it's probably going to be a podcast before it's a movie, but I think it's going to do well this way, and the network wants to kind of hype it up a little bit, so we may get some bumpers out of it and go from there.
Yeah, well, you let me know. You send the link, and we'll put it out on our socials.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Bruce.
Hey, be well. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.